How you doing today, folks? And welcome to my part 2 of the Knife of the Year series. This one is all about flippers. Now, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know I'm not really big on flippers. In fact, I have a really bad habit of grinding off all my flipper tabs. So while I definitely do have a couple, I don't have as much as you might think. And most of the ones I do have grinded off the tabs anyways, so as such, they're now disqualified. That being said, the ones that I do have are ones that for one reason or another I absolutely love and cannot seem to sell, or in one case, I just can't seem to sell because nobody fucking wants it. Anyways, let's get started. There is a crazy assortment of knives here, folks. We have full customs, mid-tex, productions, knives that cost $200 up to a few grand. Now, which knife will reign supreme? Honestly, who the hell knows? If one thing 2020 has taught me is that price really pays no object to action. Some budget knives are absolutely fantastic. Some high-end customs are kind of crappy. So which one will win and why? Honestly, I don't even know. So, what is the worst flipper of 2020, at least in my experience? Much like the first video, that answer is really easy. The Medford Fighter Flipper, simply put, does not flip. Now, after recording my first video, I was told this knife flips just fine, you just have to polish the washers. I'm not going to pay $810 for a knife only to modify it. For that price tag, this knife should be fantastic. It's not. This knife is bad. From this point on, every single knife on this table is good. I've bought every single one of these knives, short of this Holt. I've had them all for quite some time. I've used them all, and honestly, they are great knives. No one knife on this table is bad at this point in time in the video. But a knife has to go, so even though this knife is not bad, the Kaiser Roach needs to be eliminated. This knife has fantastic action, a very interesting design. It really does look like cockroach. The ergonomics for me are decent. It had the foresight to actually mill out this little pocket, so when you're on this piece right here, it's not a hot spot. It's a pretty good knife. I actually really do like it, and it flips out beautifully. Next on the chopping block is the WE 608E. This knife has fantastic action, decent drop shut. The standout feature of this knife is I've ran this through the washing machine twice. I don't even know how, but it happened. And there is barely any chipping on the actual blade. This M390 held up really well. And honestly, I really like this knife. But again, the other things on the table, I just like more. But this knife is fantastic. Now we have the battle of the button locks. First off, we have a Brian Ty. This is a full custom, gorgeous mirror polished blade. Thin titanium scales, beautifully contoured. This knife is honestly absolutely beautiful, and I love it. Versus the Spyderco Smock. This knife is around $130 something when you can get it. With these titanium scales, it's about $220. Very much adds to the heft and the weight to it, and I really do enjoy it, but we're just talking about the action here. And the action on the Smock is honestly pretty damn ridiculous. This is before you drop the second detent ball. If you do take out that ball, it is much smoother overall. But for the purposes of this video, I did reinsert the detent ball because I want to keep it as close to stock as possible as far as the actual action. Obviously, the scales are modified. So, $220 versus a little over $1,000. Custom versus production. Who wins? Honestly, I'm so tempted to justify the price tag and to make the Brian Ty win. But the Spyderco Smock is just smoother. The Brian Ty is smooth, it is enjoyable. This flips better, and it closes better, and it just feels better overall in hand. And that is crazy. $200, a little over $1,000, somehow Spyderco Smock wins. That is surprising to nobody else more than it is me. Alright, we started out with 9, now we're in the top 4. Every single knife on this table has incredible action, and I love them all. And now we're going to get to some of the pain. We have 3 customs and 1 production. Now, I want to be so clear, This knife is so fantastic. I've bought it 3 times. I've sold this knife 3 times, and I've rebought it 3 times. And the most recent time I bought this knife was in February, and I still love it, and I'll probably never sell it ever again. The Riot Hollowed Valhalla is an absolutely fantastic knife. Beautiful, ergonomic, incredible action, drop shut, no issues. I really cannot think of a better knife overall, but as far as just the actual flipping action, there are some better and there's little nitpicks here and there, but this knife is fantastic. Now right here is where this whole process gets very much about nitpicking, because these are all fantastic knives, incredible knives even, but we're talking right now about sheer flipping action. And as far as the best flipper, the one that has that best in-hand feel as it rockets out, locks up solid, you have that beautiful action, that sound, that everything you love about a good flipping knife. Honestly, I think I already have my number 1, but let's go through it all anyways. Our top 3 are the full custom Chebikov Bear, the Curtis Knives large F3 frag, and the newly released Holt Haptic. You know, if I had a category based purely on the closing action, the Holt Haptic would win, but it's more about flipping. This knife flips out reliably. It feels good, but not great, but the way it closes is insane. There's just no resistance at all. I'm not normally a fan of drop shut knives. They kind of scare me, but this one, it just rockets down so smoothly, so gracefully. But again, this is about flipping, not closing, but the actual deployment of the knife. And the Holt Haptic, unfortunately, is not the best flipper, though it is by far the best closing knife I've ever felt. This thing is ridiculous. There is $2,200 currently buried in my table of absolute fantastic, ergonomic, beautiful flipping, beautiful closing, everything almost perfect is sitting right here, folks. Now, what knife will I have to choose? What knife is going to be taken out? It's by the narrowest of margins, but the Curtis large F3 frag is great, but it's not quite greater than the Chebikov. This is very much a battle of attrition here, folks, because they are both fantastic knives. They are both great. The Curtis is one of my favorites, but again, as far as just pure flipping action, it's not quite there. Now, it was a narrow victory, but it's still a victory, and that means the Chebikov Bear, at least in my opinion, out of the knives I've handled in 2020, is the best flipping knife, period. Beyond just being a good flipper, this knife is balanced perfectly, wonderful lockup, fantastic ergonomics and in-hand feel, beautiful S60V steel with a proprietary heat treatment that is shit on every other knife I've had this year, 4.5-inch blade that deploys effortlessly and glides down like absolute butter. I love this knife, folks. They are still available, though they are not cheap, but they are really and genuinely worth the price. And I've used this thing. I've lightly abused it. I've sent it to 13 different channels who've also used it. This knife is still screaming sharp, and it still looks brand new. How? Honestly, I do not know. This thing is an absolute monster. It is a beauty. It is a beast. And it holds up to general wear, tear, and use perfectly. Chebikov knives really hit this knife out of the actual park. By far the best knife I've handled in 2020. And honestly, in the last 5 years, as far as just a pure flipping knife, this thing is genuinely incredible. The Holt beats it as far as disengagement, but for everything else, the Chebikov Knives Bear is an absolute home run and a bear of a knife and a bear of a good time. Anyways, I'm going to stop now. But unfortunately, the price will leave your table bare of food. All right, I'm really done now. Now, as always, folks, I do love you all. I do appreciate you all. Thank you all for watching the video. It means the absolute world to me. The life is crazy now. The world is crazy now. So do the best you can to be kind to one another, love one another, and most importantly, just be safe, take care of each other, love each other, and all that fun stuff. As always, folks, I love you all. Take care, and bye-bye.